Hey, y'all. Welcome to the book club. We are going to discuss Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of the books we recently wrapped up in our book club. We are reading it and discussing it for 7 weeks. All right. And these people here with me, Vanessa, Brightest Holidays, Kathy Sings, and Jason, Santee Swapper. We're the diehard book club fans for Think and Grow Rich. And we are going to tell you all the good things about it so that you do not have to read it, because it's a tough one and it's brutal, but we are here to help you and guide you through it so you get all of the best things out of it without having to wade through this outdated, archaic book. All right, so let's start. I just want to start off with Kathy, because Kathy, I think you had like the best synopsis of the book and it cracked us up. So what were your thoughts on it?
It's just a bunch of rich guys talking about how they use the secret to make tons of money.
Yep. All right. I totally agree with that. All right. So there were so many amazing things that we got out of this book, but wading through it was tough. And let's just address that right up front. There were some very outdated, like it was written, in the 20s and 30s, the 1920s and the 1930s. So a lot of it, was super groundbreaking at the time, but the references are just so difficult to take in, and some of them are a little offensive. I mean, reading it as a woman, yeah, not great.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you guys think about that and the outdated references, and did it hold you back at all?
I was just so angry all the time. So I listen to the books. That's just the way I operate. Sitting down to read just bores me. And I'm like walking around doing my chores, listening to this book, going, "Are you kidding me?" I just kept thinking that over and over again, like, how offensive, how rude. And I think I got to like halfway through and I just said, I can't listen to this anymore. This is just angering me so much. So I flipped to the newer version of it, and apparently wasn't approved by the original, publishing. I don't know who it was, but
The
it wasn't.
Napoleon Hill Foundation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I switched to that one, which was better to listen to and had more recent references, but I still found comments in there that, like, where are the rich white women? Where are the rich black women? Where's the I mean, Oprah, why not reference her in a newer version?
Right.
There's just so much out there that they could have pulled upon with some great ideas, but just make it more modern, I guess.
Yeah. So, that's really a good point. So I, listened to the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I got the original book. This is what the original one looks like. And then it's original text. So I didn't read the updated version. I listened to some of it on audio. It was much more relevant. So I think going in, I was glad that we read different versions of it. Which one did, Jason, Vanessa, which versions did you read?
Yeah, I read the original one, and I didn't, being, I guess, middle class white male. I wasn't as offended by it, but I did pick up on some of the things that Kathy's referencing, especially later in the book, which I don't want to jump ahead to the last chapters. But there was also some kind of really cool stuff, like that one chapter I really loved was about the American independence and how like these guys were the perfect example of like focusing on the one thing that they would sacrifice their lives for. So the old history teacher in me was proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Kathy's saying, there's no reference to Oprah. Literally the heroes of this book were like Albert Einstein, or no, maybe not even him. No, the guy who invented the light bulb. I mean, it's like early 1900s. So it's a little tough to, unless you really are a history nut, it might be tough to appreciate.
Yeah. And we have like the steel barons and all of that are referenced a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I read the newer version, but I'm not really sure how much newer it really was. But, I didn't take offense to it. I just I just tried to think about how I could implement the ideas and thank the Lord that it's not the same anymore, and
Mhm.
looked at how much further we've become. Not that it doesn't exist, but we are a lot further along than what they were in the early 1900s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I just try to look at it in a positive way and take out, there were some really, really good ideas and there were some really empowering thoughts. And I tried to just stay with that and, toss the other stuff away.
Yeah, that the perspective of how far we've come as a society is pretty amazing when you look at it through that lens, I think. That's a
Mhm.
really that's a really good way to look at it. All right, so all right, Vanessa, what was the biggest thing you got out of this book? Let's talk big here before we get into some of the other stuff.
Okay, so I know, don't yell at me. I moaned and groaned about writing my mission statement, but I've got to tell you, it was the best exercise I have ever done. And it has put me on a path to where I want to be, where I want to go. And it's directing me right there. Um, it was not easy. It was very difficult to go really, really deep down and decide where I wanted this company to go. But darn, it was so impactful.
Yeah.
That was my biggest takeaway from this book.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Like in the beginning of the book, I think one of the things that they kept talking about that kept putting us off, but we got through it, was riches, right? There was just this focus on money, 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 money. And I think Jason, you rerouted us and you were like, all right, let's go back. Let's think, all right, they're talking about money, they're coming out of the depression, like that is, riches to us today is not the equivalent of money. So you rerouted us, and I think we got so much more out of the book because of that, as to what riches are to us. So do you want to talk about, can you talk about that like a little bit? And
Yeah, sure. So for those, again, we're kind of giving a little synopsis here.
yeah.
It really focused on the one idea, or I called it in our chats, the one thing that you were going to focus on. And they were really focused on, if you could get to $1 million, which must have sounded like, $1 billion and in those days money. But for us, we struggle with that because we are all sort of the age where we're more focused on our life and improving our health, our relationships, our happiness. These are things that are important to us. We don't really get a giant obsession with how many zeros are in the bank account. And so we started to look at it a different way. And I'll just compliment the book club and Libby, you for leading this, that Vanessa's mission statement, which I think maybe Brightest Holidays even came from this book club.
Yes, it did.
We steered it in a direction that really benefited us, because I don't think mission statements was in the book necessarily. I don't think at all. But this idea that you need to focus on the one thing, we kind of configured that, and we all took it in a different direction, which I think was very successful for our businesses. I think all of us have really spent a lot of time focusing on what is it we really do, what is our one thing. It's not how we're going to make millions of dollars, but maybe it's our business and our focus forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a huge takeaway. And Kathy, what about you?
I remember how you said, what makes you happy? Like, what is your passion? I remember we were discussing that, and that's where Vanessa and I both came up with ideas about our business. Is that, what is your passion? What is it that drives you, that you really want? And I remember one of the people in the book, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at history, so Jason can tell the names. He wanted to work for somebody and wanted to be his partner. And so he went and like just gave this passionate speech about how he wanted to work for him and wouldn't give up. And then after he started work for him, he would just do everything above and beyond. And that got him to where he wanted. And it, in essence, he was passionate about what he wanted, so he wanted to keep going. And I think that that's something that instilled in us, what is your passion? What are you going to do? And Jason, I even think you changed your focus on your business too, because you were doing it as part of your business, and then you're like, no, I think I'm going to focus on this. So I think it changed all of our businesses to be more what we want to do.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So like in the beginning, like chapter 1, they talk about like the power of thought, the connection between our thoughts and, what the physical equivalent is in the world. And, at the time, this was kind of like a groundbreaking idea. Now we hear this, everywhere, right? You listen to anything, you listen to, Tony Robbins, you listen to, and this book is the foundation of all of that. Like your thoughts, how do you make those manifest in the world? What is the physical equivalent? And a lot of the book goes into that. And I think that, listening to, a Tony Robbins or a Lewis Howes or any, modern motivational speaker or, business coach, the ideas are all, found in this book. We can just get a more updated version of it. So we use this, to step forward and, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. And then so that summarized up the beginning of the book. But it's stuff that we've, like, in this day and age, we've heard over and over again with modern things. And often you will be listening to something now that you've heard it. You're going to be hearing about Napoleon Hill. Now you're going to recognize it in, you'll hear Tony Robbins reference. You'll hear just about, it was referenced in almost every book we've read in book club. At some point, this Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill was referenced. Now you guys are going to start picking up on all those references as well. But have no fear. We're telling you the good parts of the book.
Can I add one more thing?
Definitely. Yes.
So going back to the, revolutionizing our businesses, I don't want anyone to think that it doesn't work for any part of your business or your experience in your business, because, although I've only been reselling for 4 years, Kathy's been reselling for 2 or 3, but Jason, how many years have you been doing this?
Yeah, maybe closer to 20.
So, and even then, it still pulled us closer to exactly what we want to focus on. So no matter where you are on your journey, it really is a good idea to write that mission statement or rethink it, because I'm certain it's, changed a little bit.
Oh, for sure. And how many of us, like, I would say, like, most people don't have a mission statement. Like, most people haven't thought about it in this way.
Yeah, we kind of have, this like hustle culture in reselling. And, I think this is definitely something that would give you more structure and more thought about it. Another thing about the book, and you've already mentioned this, is it does tell lots of stories. Now, those stories tend to be about people like Edison, who I think might be who Kathy was referencing. But it reminds me a little bit, if you've read the book, How to Win and Influence Friends, or I can't remember the title of that book.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win
Dale
Friends
Carnegie.
and Influence.
I mean, that
people.
whole book is
Yeah.
like stories, like, these little people talking and stuff.
Mhm.
So it is entertaining. But the one takeaway I was going to focus on was that, one of the things it talks about is like you have to be so dedicated to this one goal that you're going to focus on that you would just be relentless, right? Relentless. And going back to the example that Kathy was giving about the Edison guy, he just knew this is what's going to happen. He manifested it. And, this is how Libby describes taking thought and turning it into action. But for resellers, all of us, we live that, right? So we have our own small businesses that some of us are just solopreneurs, all doing it by ourselves, and long hours, bad days piled on, bad days, and you got to tough it out and make it through the other side. So there are some ways that, even though it's an older book, it does give us a way to look forward.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So chapter 3 was the power of faith and its role in achievement. And faith was I think, a misplaced word. So faith wasn't faith like we use the word faith today in a religious context. Faith was more, and Jason, you kind of reworked this word, is confidence. And I think that reading that, and if you hear references to faith, or if you're looking through the book and you hear references to faith, it's more like confidence and acting as if you're already in possession of the thing you are demanding, and just having faith that you will get there, or faith that you have it, or confidence that you have it. See, I did that. All right. And I think the whole mindset thing is something we often hear today, but just really, activating your subconscious and saying, I have $1 million. I am a successful reseller. I am, and living in that and having the confidence that it is going to happen. So that was a big part of it, is talking to yourself, self-talk. And that was throughout the book, and how you view yourself. And I think that's something probably all of us can work on. It talked a lot about imagination and just really, using your imagination, using your creative imagination to come up with these ideas, and, let your imagination be limitless. And this came into when we were playing with a mission statement, right? We tried to really, with our mission statements, we tried to step out of the box we'd put ourselves in and use our creative imagination, and not like, what would you do if you didn't have any boundaries? Like, what makes you happy? What's your dream? And then, all right, chapter 7, we all loved this one. It was the organized planning, crystallization of desire into action, because they talked about a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. And I know Kathy loves that. But they also talked about the mastermind. Oh, look, she even has it on her cup there. Yes, never quit. I mean, we've all seen reselling in particular. We've seen over the years, I don't know how many people like come and go and, think it's easy. And, but the mastermind, I know we were all excited when we read that. You guys want to talk about that a little bit, and what the role of his mastermind's a little different than what we consider a mastermind, but.
I think that the times have changed as far as mastermind goes, but I think for us, mastermind is so important because we are so isolated in what we do. Like, we're all in different cities, different states, and yet we can get together and talk about our business. And there might not be somebody down the road that we would meet. I have friends that still don't understand what I do and don't get it. And so it's important to be around those people that understand, can answer a question for you, and can help you along your journey. And even, like, one thing that this group does so well is to call us out if we're not doing something the way we promised we would do. And then discussing, so is this something you should still keep? Or do you think this is something you need to drop anyway and focus on something else? So mastermind for us is like so important. It really helps us to move forward.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, my favorite thing about mastermind and meeting with people is that it's the hardest part, but like, people will call you out, and, not be afraid to say if they don't think you're doing the right thing or you're making a mistake. Like, it's a safe in it's a safe environment, right? Like, you know, everybody is rooting for you and wants the best and wants to see you succeed, but also is not afraid to do a little tough love. And, you know, I've been the recipient of that on many occasions, and you know, it's a little painful, but I'm so grateful for it. Yeah.
You know, I would say that there are many groups out there that call themselves a mastermind. But the difference between your group and the other groups is that accountability, right? And I also really think that most people throw out, I'm a reseller. Um, you know, I own my own e-commerce business, right? But I really don't think deep down they see it as their business. It's a side hustle. It's something I do to, you know, pass the time, some extra cash, but they don't take hold of it being a true business. And so if it's a business, treat it like a business, right? You need those things. You need that mission statement. You need to know where you're going. You need to set rules and boundaries and stay with them. And you need someone to be accountable to. And I just, you know, Samantha is the perfect person for that. And, you know, I don't want anybody to think that, you know, she's out there screaming and yelling at you. No, she does it in the most positive way. I don't know how she does it, but it's, you know, did you do that? Did you do what you said you were doing? What are those boxes behind there? You know, are those listed? But it's so sweet. You have to laugh at it and say,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. You know, but I think that our mastermind has so many people that are so like-minded and take their business so seriously that is why we stick together, and that is why we show up on Tuesdays, and that is why we move forward to those goals that we're going to get, you know, or looking forward to. So
I don't even know how I did anything before Mastermind. Like, how did I ever get to a goal before Mastermind? I don't know, but much more efficient now.
well, efficient maybe, but you are certainly competitive and certainly determined. So yeah, I think that drove you.
I think that you know, one thing too is that none of us probably went to college to be a reseller, and so even on this call, all four of us have a very different background, and so you know, even just the general knowledge of business, all of us kind of need to be able to ask questions and get questions answered in a safe space, and I think that's what the C-Chats community does for us. I will say this is just, you know, I jokingly said I was going to be the peanut gallery, so let me say this. I think that in our world of reselling, the word mastermind, it gets thrown around way too loosely. Everybody says, if they have a Zoom, they call it a mastermind. And that's not what it is. It's like, that's like reseller chat. But it's not really a mastermind with goals and the spreadsheet, like you were saying with Samantha. And so you know, I credit C-Chats for having that. But if you want to get something out of this book, go to chapter 7 and read that, because I will say that his true original version of a mastermind is even much more detailed than what we can accomplish in C-Chats. You know, this would be a small group that meets like 2 or 3 times a week, and it's like, you know, it's like your brain trust that's going to help you get to that ultimate goal. You know, I don't think any of us have. Maybe with Libby, with Samantha and Molly, has that sort of brain trust that she can constantly bounce ideas off of. But the rest of us, we're still kind of out here, you know, swimming in the ocean by ourselves a little bit. But anyways, that is a good chapter. So yeah.
Yeah, I was so excited for that one. So chapter 8, love this one. Decision. See, there's so much we love about this book that we, you know, had a hard time with going
I'm
through.
waiting for you to get to the chapter I couldn't stand, but yeah. keep going.
Chapter 8, decision. I wasn't going to go through each chapter, so if I missed it,
Oh,
you're going to have to call me back.
I will.
Decision, the mastery of procrastination. Just the importance, and this is something that we talk about all the time, but it was nice to read it and really just really think about it. You know, how indecisiveness can really hurt us. Now, because we
Mhm.
did our mission, it's much easier to make decisions, and I think that was just such an amazing and pivotal point. But still, you know, I think maybe not us, but I think a lot of times in life we procrastinate on making decisions, and we're not decisive enough. And you know, when you're not making a decision, you're procrastinating. It's taking up mental energy. We're not moving forward. We're actually being pulled backward by that indecisiveness, and just the importance of being able to make a decision. So that was something that I got out of it. Does anybody have anything to add on
I just want to
that?
say you mentioned the word procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've suffered with this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I keep telling myself is procrastination is making a decision. It's making a decision not to do it.
Mm.
And so I need to change that mindset and make a decision to do it, because then I don't have to go back and look at that over and over and over again and go, okay, that not today. That's a decision. I'm not going to do that today.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah. And I've noticed, like, when I make a listing, I take forever. And I'm looking at all those questions, and I sometimes just have to self-talk and say, hey, you need to get it up. This is only going to sell for $25. You can't spend an hour making these decisions because it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I love the frame of, you know, not making a decision is making a decision. You just made a decision not to make a decision. And you can see how that snowballs really, really quickly
Yeah.
into wasted mental energy. And, you know, with the mission statement, we can always go back and say, all right, like, make the decision. Does it fit into my mission? Here we go. And one of the things that we do in Mastermind a lot is, all right, well, you're struggling with this. Tell me what day and time, sometimes down to the minute, like at 9:31 a.m. on, you know, August 23rd, I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to have this decision made. And that's one way of avoiding procrastination, of making decisions, is assign yourself, or have Samantha assign you a timeline.
Yep.
I mean, Stephen Bartlett says very, very shortly, when you make quick decisions, you are successful. When you decide not to make those decisions, you are unsuccessful. And that could mean, you know, it could take a long time, it could take a very short time. But people typically who make very quick decisions are successful, and they don't change those decisions. They might tweak them, but they don't change them. Those who don't make decisions will eventually fail.
I got to add that into my quote repertoire. I got to say, I'm having a little quote envy here, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Stephen Bartlett so much.
That's yes, so smart. Jason, any thoughts on procrastination and or decision making?
Yeah, I think that, you know, going back to the mastermind, to be decisive and decide that you're going to do something. This is a Libby thing. We talk about the 90-day experiment. You know, you're going to try TikTok. You're going to try whatnot. You know, all the reselling channels out there. And that's one thing I see happening in the mastermind. Just happened yesterday. We were in the mastermind. People were talking about, you know, successes and failures, and then, you know, sort of figuring which direction to go into and getting advice from others who have been there or have some insight. So I think that, you definitely have to sort of make a decisive decision to go forward. But it's also good to have feedback and course correction, because in some of the books we've talked about how, you know, to go to the moon, the spaceship has to make like thousands of slight course directions to make sure it's still on course. And so that's where the feedback is good.
You've referenced that gyroscope many times in every book. That must be a really powerful one for you. Yes.
I'm a child of the 80s, man. Space shuttle, we were all into that. Yeah.
Right? I know. I do love it when you reference it. But yeah, and that was the slight edge where he talks about the course correction and the gyroscope. Like, you don't change your mission, but there are little course corrections along the way. Yeah. So I was going to jump to chapter 15. And I mean, I'm jumping ahead a lot of chapters here. He talks about persistence, you know, willpower and desire and all of that stuff that we hear all the time. I mean, I think you could watch any Tony Robbins video. I keep talking about Tony Robbins, but you could watch any Tony Robbins video and get an updated version of all of that, like persistence, willpower, and desire, and Mel Robbins.
Mel
yeah,
Robbins.
The Robbinses. Not related.
They're not related though. Yeah.
Chapter 15, how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear, and chapter 16 were the devil's workshop. So
can I go back?
Yeah, absolutely. Did I miss your favorite chapter, Kathy? I did. I know it.
I don't remember the name of the chapter, and the book is sealed up inside there, ready to sell to somebody, and I'm not getting it back out.
You're not one of our listeners, because we're saving them from reading it. So, you know, yeah. Don't buy Kathy's book. No, I'm just kidding.
There was a chapter that had an awful lot of talk about sex.
Oh, yes. That was chapter 11, sex transmutation. Yes.
Yes. And it was all from a man's point of view, no matter which book you were reading. And I just didn't appreciate that at all. And I would suggest, if you need to read this for some class or something and you're a woman, just kind of glaze through that, because, you know, it'll probably offend you. It was always how a woman and having sex with a woman can help you in your business, and how if your wife is there and supporting you, you will be successful. Well, yeah, any partner that's there to support you, just saying that, will help you.
So, all right. So my main takeaway on that was something a little different.
Okay.
It was
all right.
And I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. I'm not even going to comment on it, because I'm just going to tell you what my takeaway on it was. And I don't know how you do this, or I didn't get any good tips, but it was how to take your sexual energy and move that into your business. Like, how to take all that energy and take it and apply it towards your business instead. Like, how to harness that energy. Like, I don't know if anybody talks about that in the modern equivalency, like the modern equivalency of that. I have no idea.
Passion for what you're doing, period.
I don't know. I find it like weird and creepy. Like that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying though. It didn't have to be sex related. Just passion for what you're doing and support with the people around you. Boom. Skip the chapter. Go on.
All right, Vanessa and Jason, you want to weigh in on this?
No.
You know, I did not take it like that. I mean, was it annoying to read? Absolutely, it was annoying to read. I felt like I was reading 50 Shades of Grey, but I just tried to ignore that part of it. He just, it was the early 1900s. You just have to, take the good parts out of it and move on.
Yeah. I think that's what was bothering me, because when I was at that chapter, I was in the more modern version. And to me, they could have really changed that to make it more modern. And they didn't. They kept it all misogynistic. And I thought that was really wrong. So if you're going to update a book, update it.
Well, the update was, when was the update written?
60s,
Was it in the
70s?
80s?
Oh, was it the 80s? I mean,
I feel like the
definitely.
update isn't that.
No, it isn't
current.
that. But it wasn't like little ladies were sitting at home all the time like it was in the first one. I'm sorry, sitting at home was not a thing, by the way. They worked their butts off because
Right.
there was a lot to do, and
Yeah.
you had to do it all from scratch and everything. I mean, you know, they were making clothes. They were doing all kinds of things modern women don't have to do, and that's why we work. But because we have to buy those things. So, you know, it's a whole cycle of life. But yeah, I just had wanted to comment that you can skip that chapter.
I'm glad you pulled us back to that chapter, because you know it did need to be commented on. It was just like so out of the blue and just jarring and weird. And it is weird. It is weird.
Definitely added a little spice to our recording.
Yeah, I want to know how many people have picked up the book now and only went to that chapter.
Hey, you can buy my book. Just read that chapter.
Next thing you know, Molly and Samantha will be doing it when they're Just for Flippin' Fun book club. You know, like, I don't know.
Well, since we're transitioning away from that fun, juicy topic, let me give you one little takeaway too.
Yeah.
Because you know, Kathy's kind of referenced how a bit old-fashioned it is. And recently, my daughter was home from college, and we watched a documentary that she had to watch for one of her college classes. It was about capitalism, and I didn't think of it at the time, but it just kind of occurred to me that one of the interesting things it talked about was that essentially until World War II was over, and sort of all of the production that happened, you know, this guy was writing during the Depression, right? And so the middle class was just absolutely gutted during his time. And so this idea that you would have people that would be so focused on kind of breaking out of the doldrums of the Great Depression that you would write a whole book about Think and Grow Rich. And he literally meant rich as in money, as we discussed earlier. You know, but after World War II, the middle class kind of explodes. There's all these people who go to college and, you know, get degrees and wealth and start to build, you know, wealth. So, you know, we just live in a much different time than the time of this author. Not to excuse any of his misogynistic, you know, writings, but the world did change, you know, in the 100 years since he probably started putting pencil to pen and not to paper. So,
and thank goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, thank goodness. And I mean, you could argue that this book was, you know, somewhat pivotal in that. Like, even though it is dated, like for the time, it was very revolutionary. And, you know, it probably spurred some of the changes that we're enjoying today.
Yep.
Maybe. All right, so chapter 15, The Sixth Ghost of Fear. I've been thinking and doing a lot of work on fear lately, and you know, what is it? What fear is something that holds us back, and probably holds us back more than we give it credit for. So it kind of like does a deep dive into, like, I loved this. Clear all fear, doubt, indecision. Doubt and indecision are the seedlings of fear. Doubt and indecision. So it goes back to decision making and, you know, doubting ourselves, not having that faith or confidence, as Jason reworded it, not having that faith or confidence, and not making decisions are the seedlings of fear. And fear is one of the main things that hold us back. So this chapter really did speak to me, and I had a lot of takeaways from it. I don't know about you all. It made me kind of look deep, and what is holding me back? What is the fear? And I do recommend that this chapter, or, you know, looking at the modern version of somebody talking about fear and what's holding you back, and really giving that some deep thought. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that, or if it impacted you the same way it impacted me.
Oh no, I really liked that chapter. It made a lot of sense to me. And it probably made a lot of sense because I've studied that for myself. Like, I said that I have suffered from procrastination. And so when I studied that, that is tied to my perfectionism, because you put off doing it because you want to make it perfect.
Mhm.
And as a teacher, I saw that in my students, like the ones that would put off doing something. I'm like, you just need to make a decision and move forward. And they would be like, but it could be this or this, or you just need to make a decision and move forward. And they needed that guidance. And I don't know that everybody gets that guidance these days, that, you know, making a decision and moving forward is important, and you can't overthink things forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, like perfectionism, and perfectionism is based in fear, because fear it's not going to
Fear
be
of failure.
perfect. Fear of failure. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
driven not by the the desire for success, and then there's the fear of failure. And a lot of people live on the fear of failure more than the desire for success. So they're constantly worried that they didn't do it right. Like
Mhm.
I would get a test back and I would have one question wrong, and that would obsess me. What did I do wrong? What was that question? Why did I get it wrong? And instead of going, it's a 99%, that's amazing, and move forward,
Right.
it would bother me that I got that one wrong.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so cool to know that about yourself, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anessa, what do you think fear wise, or did you give this much thought? Or no, we're telling you what the end of the book is, because do you mind if I say that? So you didn't finish the book, and you were going to finish the book, and I said to you, no, we're going to record the episode, listen to the episode, don't torture yourself. So you're our ideal listener right now for the end of the book, because you made it like almost all the way through the book, and I'm like, don't even bother. We will give you the summary, and it will be so much better than actually reading the book.
You know, and I, at that moment, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Oh my gosh, I can just push it away. But I'll be honest with you, I literally put it in the Goodwill pile and made my husband take everything to the Goodwill, so it's out of the house. However, now I am regretting it, because I really wish I had that chapter of the 6 ghosts of fear. I think I would have gotten something out of it. Am I going to go and buy Kathy's book? Oh, heck no.
No,
However,
you can Google it.
Yeah.
It's on Google.
Oh.
All of his steps are on Google with a summary. And I was like, you know what? This is a good way to read the book. Just read that.
Okay, because I was going to say, well, I'll look at the library and get a hard copy and do it that way and hand it back in, but I'll do the Google thing.
Just Google it.
We used to call it Cliff Notes in the 80s. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Students don't use that anymore. Now they just ask ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah.
Sorry for those of you that don't know, Jason and I both have educational backgrounds.
Yeah, I'll just say that in those last chapters, you know, it again, because we're summarizing the whole book, let me just mention that it's a slight criticism would be that the way the book is written, some of the chapters are unbelievably long. Like when we were doing the book club, it's like whatever chapter it was like, oh my God, it was like 50 pages, whatever. And then like his list, some of his lists, it's like, you know, today we would think, okay, like 3 or 4 bullet items. It was like 36 items or something. I mean, it was just like the way it was written. It's like, oh, so
yeah.
It is a challenging book to read, no doubt.
I mean,
I found that part really. Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
You also have to think that in writing novels, you know about this. So those are the way novels were written back then. They're very lengthy because they didn't have anything else to do at night.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Dad would get a book out and he would read to the family. Mom would be crocheting or mending socks or whatever, and the kids would be sitting there, right? Because there wasn't TV. You weren't going out at night. There weren't lights outside, lamp lights outside, unless you had those gas ones. So they were meant to entertain, where we, well, not necessarily me, because I do love those books, but most of us in this generation right now, not generation, but right now, we want to flip through it. You know, we want the information, we want it quick, we want it concise, we don't want any fluff, and we want to be done with it and move on. And so I think that that's why it's like that. And there's a very specific way to write a book now, which is, you know, every chapter is approximately 10 pages long. And it goes on from there. And if you want to be published, you should only have like 30 chapters. But that all gets tweaked out. But I think that that's the reason why the book is the way it is. They weren't done quick and easy.
I think we should rewrite those questions. Maybe I'll rewrite those questions for the modern reader, that they could take away. And let's see if we could distill down those questions. Vanessa, just wait for that. I'm going to work on that. That sounds like a fun project.
Kathy can rewrite the chapter on sexual transmutation.
Yes, please.
It's going to be one paragraph.
It's perfect for the modern reader.
Real quick. Maybe I'll have 3 bullet points. We'll see.
I think that sounds like a brilliant idea. Yeah. So any other thoughts on fear or indecision?
No, but what Vanessa was just talking about, how the writing was different back then.
Yeah.
When I was listening to his endless lists, I found it interesting, and you guys hadn't done this, I brought it up, that I can identify certain people. Like, it, you know, a leader does this, and I'd be like, nope, that person does not do that. And no, that person does not do that. And then when you flip to the side, a good leader doesn't do this. I'm like, yeah, they're doing that. And yeah. Oh, and that principal that I worked for that was really great. Of course, you know, that principal did all of those things. And that's why, you know, that person was successful. So I think that if you're reading it like a novel, like Vanessa said, you can, I'm a person who reads and sees things. And so I was seeing people in those responses, and then it helped me to like solidify, okay, yeah, you're right, that's why that person is successful and that's why that person is not successful.
Yeah, that was a really cool. I went back and like looked at some of that, and I was like, yeah, I could definitely picture certain people, you know, as we went through the questions and the statements. Very cool. All right, so we got out of this way more than we thought we would, right? Once we weed it through all of the flowery, it wasn't really flowery, all of the long text, and did away with some of the historical references or the scenarios that don't apply to us today, we got a lot out of it.
Although Jason enjoyed the whole historical period book section that for me was like 10 times longer than it needed to be.
It was very long.
Yeah, he would reread that one over and over again. Because it was historical. And it was interesting to see what happened historically and how that person became who they did. But yeah, I felt like, okay, you've gotten that point. Let's go to the next person, please. And there could have been 15 people in that list that would have been helpful. And I think there was like 3 or 4. And it just went on and on and on. And sorry, Jason enjoyed it. I didn't. We have different ideas. So maybe someone else will jump to that chapter and read it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So because I didn't finish it, and because I didn't read those 6 Ghosts of Fear, did you guys pull out some of the positive points and try to implement them in yourself to become a better leader, to become more successful?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it was like a reminder to me that like, oh, I like the very simple step of when I was a teacher, I would end every day by cleaning up my desk and putting everything in order for the next day, because you never know, if you're out sick, some sub is going to have to come in and take care of things. So if I leave my desk a mess, then, you know, everyone else who has to help that sub is upset. So I always did that. But when I was doing my own business, for some reason, I wasn't cleaning up my desk every night. And we talked about that. Like, yeah, you know, that is something I need to do to clear my mind. And it was the book and the things that they talked about that reminded me I should be doing this, you know. And I knew that about myself, that I procrastinate, and I knew that about myself, that I overanalyze things. And now I can remind myself with my self-talk, move on. You got this.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it was definitely the ghosts of, I really just didn't know what I was afraid, like, honestly, just didn't know what was holding me back. So it really made me take a step back and look at that. So I'm very thankful for that chapter.
It does show you that a lot of the book is kind of like psychology, you know. And he may have come from a generation where psychology was still kind of new. I don't know when Sigmund Freud was, you know, doing all his stuff, but, you know, that might have been a bigger influence. So I do think that, like you're saying, Vanessa, there is a lot of value in looking at some of those parts of the book, because I think they deal with relationships and with you know, sort of human motivations. And I think that probably doesn't change with time. You know, some of the stories might be a little old, you know, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. Okay, yeah, they're, you know, history major likes that stuff. But some of those things are useful. And maybe that's where what Kathy's saying is that, you know, by Googling some of this and pulling up some summaries, that might be a way someone can attack it. Because I think Libby started off this by saying, we read the book so you don't have to.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. So, all right. I mean, all in all, you know, it was, would you read it again? No. All right. Nobody's gonna read it twice.
You can't even pay me to read it and write a synopsis for other people. Nope.
Are you glad you read it?
I will say the whole thing that sort of germinated with these mission statements and stuff, I think all impacted not only us, because we've shared it in our bigger Consignment Chats group, a lot of people. And so I know I went down a rabbit hole one night for a couple hours and was just, you know, actually with Vanessa's suggestion, I was asking Chat GPT some questions, and it was just going down the rabbit hole. So it definitely sparks ideas. It's just a tough book to read all the way through, especially if you're reading it by yourself, because there's so much content, you know, so many big ideas packed in one little sentence. You have to unpack a lot of stuff.
Plus, like, you guys had different perspectives. So like in a book club, it's better to read a book like this where you can see someone else's perspective. Like my brain just kept jumping to self-talk going, okay, shut up. I'm tired of being told I'm just a little woman, and that only men can succeed in this world. But when I came into the meetings, you guys had gleaned other things when I was just frustrated.
All right. Well, I'm happy to hear that we all got something amazing out of this book, because I have to be honest, like halfway through, maybe even more, like halfway, I'm like, I can't believe it. Nobody's going to show up. Like, this is like a total disaster. Why did I pick this book? I don't even like it. Like, this is just like, why am I torturing these people? Like, this is awful. I had a little bit of guilt over that, but you know, Napoleon says you make a decision, you stick with it, and you follow through. So thanks for sticking with it and following through. And I know it was definitely worth it for all of us on the other side. And go ahead, Vanessa.
Successful people make a decision and don't divert from it. So you are successful.
Yeah. All right. We all are. We all hung with it. So thank you guys so much. If you want more information, it is linked up. The book club is always linked up in our show notes. Join us. We will not be doing this book again. You can rewatch the video. But this book actually spurred on the one we are doing currently, which is building a story brand, because we are furthering our mission statements, and we use this book as kind of like a jumping off point for building a story brand. So without this book, we wouldn't have done building a story brand. We wouldn't have harnessed our missions so clearly, and it wouldn't be as impactful. So, thank you, Napoleon Hill. For all. And let's see. So I'm going to mention one more thing about the book club before we go. And that is, if you join the book club, it is free in our Patreon group, which is linked up, or you can join us on a free private Facebook group. All of our weekly meetings are recorded in a private recording that you have access to when you either join the Patreon group or the Facebook group. You can get access to all of the weeks. So we've done Profit First, we've done Finding Time, we've done Pumpkin Plan, Building a Story Brand. We've done a lot of different books, and we continue to do a new one every quarter.
Slight Edge.
Slight Edge, yes, which we do the first quarter of every year. Yes, because it is the basis of our lives now. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And I'm looking forward to learning more as we go forward with the book club. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. This podcast is sponsored by ListPerfectly. To join our free private communities on Facebook and Patreon, and for all things Consignment Chats, visit us at consignmentchats.com.